hear you talking about the Tesla, it resonates with me what Steve Jobs used to talk about with the iPhone. You know, the sense of intimacy with this, not just a product. And I've heard someone say that the Tesla will have the impact on personal transport that the iPhone had on telecommunications.
Well, it's kind of to say that. The iPhone was a really great invention. I mean, I do think, you know, just being, something that Steve Jobs was that I think was quite admirable was he was ultra product focused, like down to the little details. And he and the other people at Apple would really try hard to have these, both at a high level and a small level, these delightful things happen. So it just that the product was just, it just made you happy. And that's what we try to do with the Model S is just every little detail that we can think of to really bring joy to the owner of the car. That's what we want to do.
And when can we expect it on the roads of places like Ireland or this part of the world?
Well, we should have the right-hand drive version in production in March. So I would imagine late March, April, that time frame. Yeah, I hope there's many people who will buy it in Ireland. It would be great.
And listen, I can't ask you to come to Ireland and not give a bit of advice, perhaps, to the Taoiseach. I was tweeting out this week saying, anyone got some good questions? It was a great question from somebody which said, Elon Musk, if you were the Taoiseach of Ireland, could you give us 3 pointers of what you would do to make us, put us there on the digital frontier?
The digital frontier, okay. Well, I haven't really thought about digital stuff for a while, but...
Any frontier.
Any frontier. Well, I think that the most important thing for creating companies is you need a concentration of talent. You know, it's like creating a, you know, think of like a world sports team or something. You really want to focus your talent on a particular area, and that's what a company is. It's a group of people that got together to create a product or service. So in order to have a great company, you've got to have, you've got to focus your energies on a particular area, and then make sure that from a regulatory standpoint, and from, you know, in terms of regulations and taxation and government support, that it's there for startup companies, and that it goes from startup all the way through the medium phase of the company. Because where most companies tend to not make it is not so much at that very beginning stage, it's that intermediate stage. So they'll, can they sort of reach escape velocity as a company? And when a new company is formed, and you're going up against established, you know, big established companies, you're trying to build some kind of credibility, and it's incredibly important that companies are nurtured through that phase. I mean, it's just like a little sapling growing in a redwood forest. You know, you've got these giant companies. If you don't get a little bit of sunlight and nutrition, it's game over.
Taoiseach. That's an important piece of advice, actually. As a small country, we don't have the resources to, you know, spend on all the things that you might like to follow through. So we've looked at the areas where Ireland could concentrate on, like big data or logistics or whatever. And one of the things that is growing in importance here, Elon, is the capacity of many firms to mentor smaller firms and newer entrepreneurs coming through, to give the benefit of my experience, let's look at where you're headed. And there's a lot of that going on. I think it's very true to say that the more you get them together, the more the challenge and the results actually come from that. And if you ally that to a sort of an openness to say, look, we're going to give you the opportunity to have a go at this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we're going to start again. I think that's where the future. We have the best demographics of any country in Europe for the next 25 years. When President Clinton was here, he said, all these young people, they're actually going to short circuit the rigors that so many other countries had to go through coming out of a recession. So it's in there. There's certainly real potential, and I thank you for that. And if you're sending that spacecraft off to Mars, I have a few people I could put on it for you as well.
Maybe they could send it from Shannon. We could actually get SpaceX to Shannon. That was another suggestion I had from the Twitter machine.
Well, listen, this man, either of you are welcome here anytime. You've done very well so far. Elon, we're a different kind of people. Personality of our people has been all around the world for centuries. We're open, pragmatic, work very hard, not afraid of that. And I think the young talent you have in the country, really, the essence of it was here all week. speaks for itself about their imaginative capacity to change the world and create the future. And anything we can do as a sort of a catalyst for that is our responsibility to open those doors and let them follow their dreams and build them through to reality, as you have done and will do for the future.
Yeah, and absolutely. No, what, I was trying to think of, like, is there anything, what useful things can I say? I'm trying to say something that isn't just sort of a bland platitude. I think if for technology companies, you need engineers. So to the degree that there can be encouragement of that course of study at Irish universities, I think that would be really, really powerful. Like maybe engineering could be like tuition free or something like that. You know, so.
What do you think, Taoiseach?
Well, but then tie it to, like, they got to stay in Ireland. They can't just bail. So it's like free engineering tuition, but you got to like hang out. You know, you got to create your company here. I guess that's the kind of thing that I think would be effective for creating technology companies.
What do you think, Taoiseach?
Well, I think the whole area of third and fourth level education is changing. The relationship between lecturers and teachers is going to change because the student now has so much capacity in terms of drawing down data that they get swamped with it completely. So lecturers are going to be different kinds of mentors, drivers, indicators of where pupils' talent really lies. I think that's all going to change in the next decade with the MOOCs and the capacity of universities and colleges of technology with online courses that can be done worldwide. Lecturers aren't speaking anymore to 45 students, it could be 45 million students. And I think that's where the next big change is actually coming. But it's creativity and all of that makes the difference. Shervin? We do need technicians coming from our colleges of technology. We do need engineers coming from our universities, and ally that to the world of academia and business, and you've got a thriving potential, put it that way.
Sure.
I'll add one more idea to Elon's. In the U.S., we co-founded something called the Startup Visa Act and started the visa movement with Dave McClure and a number of other entrepreneurs and VCs. And the idea was really to expedite the ability for entrepreneurs to immigrate to America. And the thing about Ireland is Ireland has one of the greatest people in the world and one of the greatest cultures, one of the greatest brands. I would do something very similar as well, just do a startup visa here in Ireland, attract entrepreneurs to come here and start their companies in Ireland, so that you're importing talent on top of growing and homegrown.
Exactly. Yeah, like that tuition thing, I'd say make it free for anyone that wants to come here from around the world.
From all over the world.
Yeah, because you need that concentration of technical talent.
Yeah, we have relaxed the visa system. We give entrepreneurs who wish to come here, even with the right of residency, if they've got an idea and some capital, to be able to come here and get involved, if you like, in the energy that's coming off all of these creators that are in the country at the moment.
I'm sorry to say, Taoiseach, but I'd probably be dragged off stage now because it's gone way over. It's been a remarkable conversation, I have to say. An honour for me. Can I just ask one very final question of each one of you? There's so many people here tonight, but there's also people watching live, laptops and their tablets. And somewhere out there's probably somebody who has a great idea, but is kind of paralysed by fear. They don't know. They don't want to take that chance. Can you just talk for a moment, Shervin, first of all, what would you say to that young potential entrepreneur who just doesn't know if they can take the risk?
That's a great question. We immigrated to the U.S., so we came from nothing really. My father was a taxi driver in D.C. and my mom cleaned hotel rooms, and all we had was the American dream. And I grew up just reading a lot of books and dreaming that I could be something and do something of value. And when I went to Berkeley, I started my first company senior year of college. And one of my mentors taught me that you should always ask, that the answer is always no if you don't ask. And as soon as you start asking, you actually get some yeses. And so I applied that in my very first company. When I first started, I had nothing. I was working at night as a security guard while going to school, had no money, and I read an article about a guy named Jamie Dimon, who's now the head of JP Morgan. And the article said he was fired by Citibank, by Citi, and he was in his office with his secretary and kind of waiting for his next move. And I was 22, 23 years old, and in my mind I was like, oh, he's available. I'm going to call him. And he's one of the most powerful people in banking and finance. And so I call 411, which is directory information, and I say, can I get the number for Jamie Dimon in New York? And they connect the call, and it rings. And I go, may I speak to Jamie Dimon? And someone answers, and the voice says, this is him. And I'm like, oh shit, sorry. Sorry,
He's never heard that word before.
I heard that before.
And I go, so I knew I had like 60 seconds. I had to face my fear. And I said, you know, Mr. Dimon, my name is Shervin. I have this dream for this company. And after a couple minutes of listening to me, he says, that sounds really good. Come up to New York, we'll have dinner. And I did that, and he wrote one of my first checks as an angel investor, and that changed my whole life. If I hadn't made that call, or if I hadn't flown to Ireland to meet with Travis on Uber, those pivotal moments, you just gotta make that call, get on that plane.
You know what's happening now? Everyone's looking for your phone number so that they can give you
directory 411.
Elon, can I ask you about that one message to that potential entrepreneur waiting to make the jump?
Well, I mean, certainly, I think people should ignore fear if it's irrational, and but even if it's rational and the stake is worth it, it's still worth proceeding. You know, I'll say a few of the things that some people may have heard me say before, which is I think if you're creating a company and doing something new, it's important to reason from first principles, which is kind of a physics framework, rather than reason by analogy. Try to get as much critical feedback as possible from friends, and you have to coax it out of them, because they'll be reluctant to say it because they don't want to hurt you. But if they know what's wrong with your product. You need to get it out of them. So.
Yeah, thanks.
I would think if somebody came to me, as they do occasionally, Mark, with ideas, I think I'd make arrangements to protect their patent, because that's always an issue. But I think it's about giving them the confidence and the courage to follow through with it. Because if it's inside you, it's a bit like in my business, politics, if you don't deal with that, you grow into an old person bitter at not having had the courage to go and do it. So if an entrepreneur, an initiator, or somebody with an idea, if they don't follow it, it's always festers inside them, and time passes by and they miss the opportunity. We have no days to waste in life and no time to waste in dealing with the problems that we face. So it's about confidence and courage and giving people the opportunity to follow their dreams.
I'm going to have to leave that as the last word, Taoiseach. And I want to say, I remember being told the Samuel Beckett line, that great line, he said, ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail better. And that's what sort of keeps me going, I suppose, in many ways. So that's it for us. I just want to say what an absolute privilege it has been on your behalf as well.